So this is in regards to the Blizzard situation again. Communications Worker of America files unfair labor charges against Activision Blizzard. The Communications Workers of America Union has filed unfair labor charges against Activision Blizzard, alleging the company has used coercive rules and tactics in an attempt to prevent employees from organizing to demand a more equitable workplace, such as the previous allegations that HR departments were using non-disclosure agreements to require employees to speak with the company before contacting the DFEH. The suit has been opened with the National Labor Relations Board, which is an independent federal agency responsible for enforcing U.S. labor law and is part of the ongoing legal turmoil engulfing Activision Blizzard. So basically, not only did Blizzard not make the studio, the campus, safer for its workers, like we have been talking about because of everything that has happened since Blizzard got sued. Not only have they not made it a safer place for their workplace, they haven't made it a better place for people to work in. They made it worse, according to what is happening here, because they're effectively coercing people. So this is the Twitter account for a better ABQ, which stands for Activision Blizzard King. In partnership with Code CWA, we filed an unfair labor practice suit with National Labor Law Relations Board. Here's a reminder that the leadership at Activision Blizzard have not met the demands of a better ABQ. Do not forget about the fight the employees are still fighting. Remember how people I told you guys that Blizzard was going to sweep this under the rug. You guys remember that? They're going to sweep this under the rug. That's exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to coerce their people. They're threatening them most likely. Into not talking to other organizations and, just not uniting themselves. So here's their demands. An anti-mandatory arbitration clause in all employees' contract, current and future. Arbitration clause protect abusers and limit the ability of victims to seek restitution. The adoption of recruiting, interviewing, hiring, promotion policies designed to improve representation among employees at all levels, agreed upon by employees in a company-wide diversity, equity, and inclusion organization. This is one that I get it. I really do, particularly because of the fame that this organization has. I still am of the opinion, whoever is better for the job, hire them. But unfortunately, they can't seem to do that, so they might have to go this route. Current practices have led to women, in particular women of color and transgender women, non-binary people, and other marginalized groups that are vulnerable to gender discrimination, not being hired fairly for new roles when compared to men. Publication of data on relative compensation, including equity grants and profit sharing, promotion rates, and salary ranges for employees of all genders and ethnicities at the company. Current practices have led to aforementioned groups not being paid or promoted fairly. Empower a company-wide diversity, equity, and inclusion task force to hire a third party to audit ABK's reporting structure, HR department, and executive staff. It is imperative to identify how current systems have failed to prevent employee harassment and to propose new solutions to address these issues. Blizzard goes and they say, how about no? How about you guys just shut the hell up instead? Does that work for you? That's kind of like the way the Blizzard went with this. Ending mandatory arbitration in employee contracts was the first demand raised by Activision Blizzard employees following their walkout in July. Arbitration is the practice of involving a third party to mediate disputes between two parties. Oh, you mean the union-busting law firm Wilmer Hale? Yes, that was great. That was a good job. And while ostensibly meant to easily settle disputes much faster and cheaper than bringing them out of the court, it has been the subject of criticisms that the process favors companies much more than their employees. Wouldn't you know it? Human resources is there to protect the company. You'd think human resources is there to protect the company's human resources, but no, you'd be wrong. Human resources is there to protect the company, and the resources can go screw themselves. Unlike a court, arbitrators are picked by the company, so while they are supposed to be impartial, there's little way to guarantee that they actually will be. Also, unlike judges, arbitrators are rarely required to explain the reasoning behind their decisions. Likewise, arbitrators are not bound by legal precedents or procedures, so there's potential for circumventing federal protections that would otherwise be recognized in a court of law, such as the Civil Rights Act, the Equal Pay Act, the Whistleblower Protection Act, and the Family and Medical Leave Act. Finally, the dispute process of arbitration and its result are almost always kept private. This is of particular importance where sexual harassment or discrimination is concerned, as although the arbitration may actually provide compensation to the aggrieved party or result in the termination of an offending employee, it can also be used to cover up the problem and allow chronic offenders to continue the behavior elsewhere. Because usually, a lot of the offenders, as it turned out, were pretty high-ranking staff at Blizzard, so they could just say, hey, this person's beneath me, this is not my problem, sort it out, HR. Make this problem go away. But all of this is secondary to the real problem caused by mandatory arbitration contract clauses which give the employees no recourse. If they don't wish to use or simply don't trust the arbitration process, refusing it is usually grounds for contract termination. Requiring employees to sign their options away has been a major part of Activision Blizzard employee concerns. While in a perfect world, third-party arbitration may be a useful tool for easily settling disputes that would otherwise take months or years in court, it's placing an awful lot of trust in corporate environments which rarely, if ever, consider the best interests of employees over that of the company. This is the thing that we just read. Founded in 1947, the Communication Workers of America is the largest communications and media labor union in the United States, formed to organize intendant local unions on a national scale, although initially organizing telephone workers, now expand to cover electronic and machine workers, cable broadcasting employees, journalists, print workers, lab technicians, and even flight attendants. While the video game industry is not unionized, that does not prevent the CWA from filing charges on their behalf. Though they do not represent the employees directly in any talks or negotiations that may take place, the Communication Workers of America and their various local sectors have a long history of such as the 18-month anti-discrimination negotiation with Facebook after discovering it enabled advertisers to exclude subgroups of users from receiving job advertisements. The CWA's involvement in this case would appear to be part of their ongoing campaign to organize digital employees and unionize workers across tech and games industry. Very inspired by the bravery of ABK workers, and we will always stand shoulder to shoulder with workers fighting harassment, assault, and discrimination. Management could have responded with humility and a willingness to take necessary steps to address the horrid conditions some ABK workers have faced. Instead, Activision Blizzard's response to righteous worker activity was surveillance, intimidation, and hiring notorious union busters. The National Labor Relations Board under the Biden administration has made it clear that it will hold companies accountable whenever they break the law. We have filed these charges to ensure the actions of ABK management will not go unanswered. There you go, Blizzard. See, this is the thing. Because, you guys need to understand, there's a lot of people that quite simply do not care about the working conditions of the people over at Blizzard. They care that their video game is working properly. And you guys are like, okay, Rurikhan, you're exaggerating. No, I'm not. I've read these comments in my comment section. People specifically telling me, look, Rurikhan, this is all well and good. I don't give a fuck. People have told me specifically in the comment section of my video that they just don't care about the conditions that these employees are working in. All they care is whether or not their games are working good. Now, personally, I don't share that opinion. I would like it if people would have decent working conditions, because basically that literally translates to a better game. You get better products if the people that are working on the product have good working conditions. So if you don't care about the lives of these people, their livelihoods and whatever, you don't have to. You don't have to, okay? It's not required of the consumer to care about what goes on in Activision Blizzard, okay? But if you care about having your good game, if you care about having your game be good, then let me tell you that in my opinion, from my experience of what I've worked in in a corporate environment, because I have worked in a corporate environment previously, not necessarily in game development, but in other environments that also have productions and products and whatnot. And I can tell you right now, production was most optimal, and the products that, the companies that I worked in were producing were best when people were well motivated to do their jobs. What does this mean, well motivated to do their jobs? It means they were receiving a decent paycheck. It means they had, decent schedule. And decent schedule does not mean that, it was 9 to 5 every single day. No, it means that every now and then they could be asked, hey, can you do some overtime? and they would do some overtime. And then it's like, hey, would you like to take a day off, or would you like to get paid extra at the end of the month? And then people are free to make their own decisions. And it's like, this was not a mandatory thing in the companies that I've worked in. This was not something that was demanded of them. It was just like, hey, can you come and work this extra time? Cool. Then we could really use it if you did. If you can't, that's fine. We'll just have to make it up some other way. But people would always organize like this, and stuff would just work in these companies that I've worked in. Now, naturally, they weren't as big as Activision Blizzard, but still, there was conditions for people to work, and basically that meant that our product was better. Our product was good. It would come out of the facilities with quality, and people would be happy, and everything would just work. There were other times, because, those companies have went through their ups and downs. There were other times with different management in those companies where people were not happy, and, people were not being paid reasonable wages. In fact, that was around the time that I left one of those companies. It was like, yeah, I'm out. You guys continue doing whatever you want to do. I'm out of here. And that's when I went to do videos instead. But yeah, basically suffice it to say, if you give employees a good working environment, your product is better. And this is something that you will see reflected in Activision Blizzard games. So you don't have to care about it, but if you want a good game, you probably should. Even if you don't care about the people, that's fine. You don't have to. But you should want them to have good working conditions, because that means you'll get a better game. But, obviously neither of those is happening. And Blizzard is just like slapdashing, trying to, haphazardly fix things and do things that players want without actually fixing the root cause of the problem, which is that their employees are still not in a good working environment. And if they're still not in a good working environment, that means they're still going to be making bad games. But hey, you guys care about what you want to care.